So, our first session of the day, let's get things started. The first session is called Building the UK Esports Cluster. So please welcome Gavin Poole, Chief Executive Officer at Here East, and Matt Brindley-Sadler, Director at Staffordshire University, London. Please join me on the stage. So I'm thrilled to have you both here, and obviously, please do take a seat. It's been a year of waiting, and we thought we were going to be doing this last year, then the world shut down. So, Gavin, how does it feel to be here today?
Well, this is the first big event we've done in the theatre for over 18 months for all the obvious reasons. So it's great to have the space, it's great to be able to welcome people back. It's great to actually now, as we've all moved into a hybrid scenario as well, to have everybody joining online at the same time. So it's a real mixed feeling of which everybody could be here, but actually you've got greater reach by doing the hybrid events now, which is good. But activating the theatre, bringing people together, it's one of the core values of Here East is to convene and to discuss and to collaborate and to innovate together. So it's welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody here.
And Matt, of course, we had a discussion this morning, in fact, about how excited you are to be building something new in the UK, to be building this kind of esports ambition. So how does it feel to be here today at the beginning of something?
Well, not just the physical, but also people. It's fantastic that we've got over 50 of our students that are working the Stack Fest, giving them an opportunity to engage with industry professionals and players. But not only that, we are accelerating, as you said, our building progress is nearly there. We're at a stage where we're going to be ready for the start of term in a couple of weeks' time. But it's fantastic to be able to invite people to come and have a look at that space, and we're looking forward to welcoming you all through the doors of our campus over the next couple of days.
Well, I have to say, I can't wait. Now, Gavin, you and I are swapping places, aren't we? Because you have a quick presentation for us, so I'll invite you up to the lectern and steal your seats.
Thank you. Well, thanks everybody. As I said, it's great to have everybody here back active in the theatre again. Stackfest has been a long time in the planning and clearly was delayed by a year for the sad reason of the pandemic. But great to get it going, and great to do it in a slightly different format that was envisaged many moons ago. So the question, I suppose, is, why Here East? Why are we doing an esports festival based at Here East? And I think to really understand that a little bit further, you need to go back and say, well, okay, let's think about why the Olympic Park. We all know what happened. We're not going to keep on going back to London 2012 saying what an amazing thing it was, and look at the legacy it's created. It has, and we're halfway through almost a 20-year legacy program, which was what was delivered by the Games. And we're, as a private sector business, with the buildings you see on the screen in front of you, are playing our role of investing and nurturing and developing talent in all different sections. If we can just go back to the previous slide, you'll see why it's important that the park is identified as a place for not just esports and gaming and technology and creative industries, and you bring that all together and you've got many different components, particularly when you're looking at talent development and work and opportunities for young people to feed into that sector, which we now known as esports, or for others from around the world as competitive gaming. And it's brilliant that we've been able to welcome Matt and the university onto the campus, and it really helps us have a tangible way of developing out that talent flow, either through the degrees that people do, through workshops and insight days, and now our own scholarship where we fund students ourselves through that program. If you're looking at if you're looking through the Olympic Park, you can look at all the different areas as well that we've got. So it's not just about Here East. Now, the park is a place synonymous with sport, but Here East is also synonymous with technology and creative industries. And if you put those two things together, where technology and sport collide, you end up with something called esports. And that's what Here East offers us because of the capabilities the buildings have as they exist from being the home for the broadcast media that put 2012 on our screens around the world. But if you look further afield, just to the south of us, the Copper Box, already being used frequently for esports competitions by all the major publishers, and it has been for 5 or 6 years now. So already anchored into the network of London and the UK as being a go-to destination for competitions and tournaments. The London Stadium, yes, is known for West Ham. It also does huge events, and they've reconfigured areas on it now that they can actually start bringing in esports tournaments, and also West Ham having their own team sits within that as well. We've got Belong sitting above Game. And why do I single those guys out over at Westfield? Well, if you think about the community element of what esports offers, and I think you've got Ollie from London United speaking later about the community impact that this can have into young people. But Belong is a really good community-grabbing convener of young people, building teams, taking them off to Birmingham, to Insomnia, and doing amazing things. If you go over to the Belong in Stratford, to the Stratford Spartans, you see just walls and walls of tournaments and trophies that they've brought back as they've brought young people together. And you've then got the velodrome. Why has a cycle track got anything to do with this? But you've got the British Esports Association working with partners to deliver BTEC qualifications over there into gaming, competitive gaming and esports as well. And you start to look at this and go, okay, it's not just about what we're doing. And we published a report earlier this year with the legacy company who run all of the park to showcase that this is an ecosystem built around the whole of the park, leveraging its legacy of sport, but also what we're bringing in terms of commercial development, the bringing together the technology sectors, the broadcast sectors, the content makers, and the innovators through Plexel, which Ada's already mentioned. And altogether, this makes this amazing opportunity, or creates this amazing opportunity for this sector to grow. Next slide, please. Thank you. Some of the areas you see around the space as you walk around going, okay, what's in this building, what's in that building? Matt will talk a bit more about Staffordshire University. We've got Sports Interactive, home of Football Manager. And this is not just about esports, this is also about gaming as well. One of the most successful games titles with Football Manager for many, many years has been here, chose us as a new place for them to build out their HQ and to bring their teams together. And we love having them here. The Innovation Centre works very well. It's a new hotbed, mobile gaming, other games technology, in-games advertising, marketing, but you get a feel of what's going on, and of course the theatre. We hosted, after the Overwatch League was won by the London Spitfires, thought it was a good idea for London Spitfires to actually come to London, so we hosted them here for the weekend event for them, which was great fun. And of course, BT Sports, been our anchor tenant since 2013, been broadcasting sports entertainment channels in a way it hasn't been done before. And they've been exploring and looking at esports for many, many years. And Jamie, I think, is talking over the coming days about their growth trajectory and what BT Sports have done. And it took a pandemic to really put esports onto their platform and their channels. And they set up their own leagues. They ran it like an NFL draft. But they did it rather than just showing the game. They ran it in their true style of what BT Sport do as an entertainment show. So you got to know the personalities, you got to know the team selection, you got to see them play, and they mixed that pro and that celebrity teams together. So it was really exciting. For us, this sector is a real opportunity to go back to when our vision for 2012 was put together. How do we take these buildings? How do we use them for the content creators of the next generation? How do we bring the technologists and the new growth sectors and bring them together and think about how do we build on the legacy of these buildings of media and broadcast, bring them together and exploit this potential of these buildings for the benefit of the local community. And if it's a natural step into esports, we looked at it way at the beginning and we thought this is too immature at the moment, we're going to wait. And we've been tracking it now for about 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, and it's going and going. And we can't talk about things at the moment, but there'll be big news as the year goes on, as we're thinking about the studios and the capability and the playout facilities and the teams that we're likely to see coming to here east. But more to follow on that and just watch our feeds as we get to announce that with our partners as we go through the year. Say nothing else, otherwise I will get shot. And as an ex-military man, that's quite painful and it hurts. So I'm not going to go there. For us, this sector provides us the opportunity to continue with our social mission as well. Now, I've already spoken about our scholarships, which we put students now into Matt's Institute. We work with our own community engagement team. We work in the local community with other partner organisations to provide opportunities for young people to see here east as a place that they can come, they can train, they can get skills and they can work. And I think this sector embodies all of that. It is really engaging for young people, not just from the playing side, but to help gain an understanding of what sits behind the game, the team. What about putting on events like this? What about already met a solicitor here? What about working in law to support the growth of the sector? So for us, it's about opening up this sector to the wider local community in which we sit and have based our commercial project, and provide them the pathways into this sector. And events like Stackfest just help us do that in a more tangible way, a very visible way, either with people being here, watching us online, or following us on social media. So please do participate. Thank you for coming, and it's a pleasure to stand here and address you all. Thank you.
Thank you, that was fantastic. Your turn, isn't it?
It is, yes.
I'll ask Matt to step up to the lectern.
So, hi everyone. I'm going to try and use the clicker. It says back and next on it, so hopefully I get that right. I just want to talk a little bit about the culture and ethos behind who we are and why we're here, why a university from Stoke-on-Trent in the middle of the Midlands decided to come and open an institute at Here East. So the key thing was that we had a distinct ambition. As a university, we have a legacy of digital and technical courses stretching back to 1901 in Stoke-on-Trent, where we had mining and ceramics were the key features of the academic portfolio because they were linked to the immediate industry. That hasn't changed over the course of the last 120 years. We're now in a position where we have over 63, 64 years of legacy of computer sciences, nearly 20 years of delivering games education, and the first university to launch a bespoke undergraduate degree for esports. Is it a bumpy ride sometimes? Yes, it is. But if we keep a focus on the ambition, on what we want to achieve, we're actually getting there. And we currently have around about 2,500 students studying at both our Stoke campus and here in London collectively on games and games-related education at degree level. That is about 20% of the United Kingdom's home domestic higher education market in those subject areas. Now, that is built on a legacy, on a lot of hard work to get us to where we are. And that's what we wanted to bring here. So we wanted to make sure that digital was at the core of everything that we did to build upon that legacy, looking into the future, the next generation of learners and workers, but also to have an opportunity where industry, our staff teams, our academics and our students could come together to very much create the uncreated. That is very much what it is we're trying to do. Innovation at the key, is key to that achievement, and empowering everybody at all levels to be able to utilize the physical and the digital and the virtual resources to get to their both individual goals but also collective ones. So we opened in 2019. And then a couple of months later, the world decided that it didn't like its turning on its axis in the way that we were used to, and so things have been a little bit of a struggle. But we've had pioneering cohorts of students that joined us both in 2019 and 2020 that have weathered the storms that we've all had to become sort of accustomed to over the last nearly 2 years. And we're really, really proud to say that some of our students, you're going to meet them later today, they are our first graduating cohorts going into their final year of study this year. We've had master's students that have completed their studies just recently. In fact, they handed in their final year projects at the weekend. So we are actually getting to where we wanted to get to. And we've established a really exciting industry advisory board, and we're always looking for new members. So please seek me out over the course of the day and over the course of the festival if you would like to become involved. And the key to our expansion, both with what we did, was also expansion of the physical. So we started off with a unique campus, and we didn't want to build a university. That was absolutely, big red line through that, not what we wanted to do up front. We wanted to create a unique study and working environment that mirrors the kind of environments and the kind of opportunities that students will have when they go into industry, when they go into the workplace. We didn't want to have rows and rows of computers all facing the front like a late 1990s call center. That was not the atmosphere we wanted to create. So that's exactly what we didn't create. We created a kind of production zone. That was our initial campus. But as Gavin said, We are expanding. We've just committed nearly £4 million to the expansion of our campus for this September. And these are just some of the concept images of our new spaces, and they're actually starting to look like that. Carpet was laid yesterday, so I know it's therefore getting to the stage that I can start to relax. One of the things that we're also putting in is a quite unique virtual production stage. Think swingometer on election night combined with AR and VR and motion capture tracking, vanishing point software, all powered by Unreal. We really are merging the tech together so that students and stakeholders, companies that we work with, and our staffing teams can actually start to create new dimensions to the virtual and the physical worlds in which we operate, enjoy from an entertainment perspective, and work. So these are sort of 6 kind of underpinning pillars for the types of courses that we offer, from the computer sciences, cyber, artificial intelligence, data science, and also the games courses, whether that's design, development, programming, esports, concept art for games and film. Everything is built around these core underpinnings of to build, to create, design, discover, promote, and protect. So we have threads that run through all of our courses together. And finally, as a university, we really are #proud to be staffs. That's a hashtag that grew out of our Students' Union a number of years ago. And we're really, really keen to keep getting better. That's what we're here to do. Everybody's top 10 for something in higher education, but the one that we're most proud of is what students say about their learning experience. The assessment feedback that they go through and they get, and also their teaching quality, and that's at the pinnacle of everything we do. Thanks very much.
Fantastic, thank you. I have to say, I feel like you two have really set the stage for today with the ambition. You know, I feel like we're really, it does feel like we're building something. That's what I was excited about hosting today, was setting the scene for the UK becoming what we want it to, which is a global powerhouse for games. So, Matt, I want to start with you and just ask, since you are essentially building the future, quite literally, you are building it, you are, training up the students that will become the workforce. What for you do we need to develop and build and solidify our place within the global esports scene?
I think from the first thing is that we need to work more closely together. So education providers who are the talent pipelines coming through into industry need to work very closely with industry to look at developments, to look at whether that's a technological development or a new way of working, how we're looking at talent management, etc. Because we all actually want to get to the same point where we want to have industry growth, but we also want to have talent growth. And we want it to be on our own doorstep, wherever possible. We want to be able to create new talent from local pipelines, and that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. And that's why being at Here East is so unique, because it is this collective ecosystem where we have collective synergy in what we're trying to achieve.
Gavin, that's what I think is really interesting, because for me, for a long time, we've had the talent in the UK, but what we haven't had is the infrastructure. And I think Here East is going to play a really vital part in that. So for you, what's next for you? What do you need to do here? What do we need to do as an esports community in the UK to build?
Yeah, I think it's making sure that people are aware the infrastructure is already here. We've just done a lot of work in getting the brand. Helen's here in the audience, our marketing director, making sure that that's understood. As we move more and more into the competitive gaming world, understanding the needs of that sector, one of the people who make the deals happen, the agents, and the usual question is, what's the bandwidth? And the answer is, how big's the checkbook? Because we've got the infrastructure legacy from London 2012, so with a phenomenal reach and fibre capability. I think for us, making sure that we bring in the right partners to build out the capabilities of the play-out facilities, we can make it work within the theatre, but in some of our studio spaces to have dedicated content studios to think about mission prep or rehearsal space for teams, thinking about the network that we can bring in. We've got a very strong relationship with people down at McLaren, can be linking with the Human Performance Centre, but we also have Loughborough University on campus as well. with one of the best human performance centres who deliver all of the Team G elite performance programmes, who are now starting to work in esports. Think about how can we build the relationship between Loughborough University and Maths Institute and bring the two together. But then when we're bringing teams into new content spaces which we're going to be developing, think about, do those teams get access into the Human Performance Centre either in the Midlands, or do we get the team to come down here? And all of these discussions are live discussions that as we bring the sectors together and the education environments together and the people around the sector, it's not just, I keep on saying, it's not just the games players, it's nutritionists, it's psychologists, it's strategists, it's everybody involved in the business. We can bring them together on site. And I think for us, having the space, I said right at the very beginning, one of the things we do is convene. That's one of the benefits of having this space, is to bring people together. And if we can do this into this new sector, that's the infrastructure. The infrastructure allows people to gather.
Well, people have gathered. We do have an audience here today. So I want to throw it out to an audience Q&A. We've got time for some questions. So if anybody has a question, you can throw your hand in the air. And we've got roaming mics, I believe. I can't see, so I trust that they're out there. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to ask? I'm going to try and have a look. Come on. Okay. Oh, we've got a hand over here. Yeah. Thank you for asking the first question. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Hello. Kylie Kendrick, Durham University. It's a question for Staffordshire, really. How difficult was it to convince your senior leadership teams to incorporate esports into your degrees, create a space? Because Durham are on a similar journey ourselves, but whilst we won't be able to create a degree, we are looking to create an esports space, and that's primarily where we're at.
I think trying to get senior leadership or university executive or even board of governors to convince them of anything is pretty much wholly evidential. They need to see that there's been successes elsewhere. Now, of course, that stops you being a pioneer, because if there isn't a legacy from somewhere else. I think from our perspective as a university, we didn't just badge ourselves as a digitally connected university. We actually did it, and I think that some universities they're a little behind on the pathway. They're still on the same pathway, but they haven't maybe got the right people in the right places. So one of the things, we have our Pro Vice Chancellor for digital. We're one of the first universities to have a PVC purely for digital. Andrew took the university and migrated us to the cloud in 2015-16. Lock, stock and barrel, the whole university. Now, that sort of demonstrated a confidence in that individual. And I think it is about people, getting the right people to say the right things in the right audiences. Mm-hmm. If there is a junior technician working in the media team, and they are the best person to put in front of a vice-chancellor to get the purse strings loosened, put that person in front of the vice-chancellor. That's the advice that I would give.
I'm hoping to be that person. Thank you very much.
That was a fantastic question. Do we have any other questions for our panellists up here? No? I know. I mean, that first question was a good one, so I understand why people are feeling a bit trepidatious. No? All right, I'm going to jump in with one, I think. What are the challenges? Matt, I'll start with you, and Gavin, I'll jump to you, because, as you said, it's been a bumpy road, and of course, you are a pioneer. You are doing something we haven't seen. So for you, what are the challenges you faced and you expect to face?
So I think challenges come around communication and knowledge exchange. If you're not getting, and that goes back to the question from a colleague at Durham, is that what you've got to do is make sure that you are getting information turned over very quickly. If you're needing to get people to buy into a project or an initiative that you're doing, you have to convince them early on. You also have to convince them to be prepared to be very adaptive and very flexible, and to do a full 360 when they need to. And I think that's what we've been able to do. We've made sure that there is an underpinning of support, there is an underpinning of the resources that are needed, and everything has to be balanced equally. But the challenges going forwards, I suppose, realistically, are getting recognition of our first cohort of London graduates. Because, of course, you start up, you've got a lag until you've got that talent that is then hitting into the graduate market. So, but collectively as a whole institution working together. But I think other challenges, as universities, we're pitched against each other by the system. That happens a lot. We're asked to collaborate, but we're also in competition with each other. I think maybe a little bit of a heavier focus on the collaboration, as Gavin said, as tying up with Loughborough, for instance. More on the collaboration than on the competition. I think will help mitigate against those challenges.
Fantastic. And Gavin, I thought it was really interesting that you said that you'd kept an eye on esports for a little while and it wasn't quite the right time, but now it is. So again, what for you was kind of putting you off jumping in, and what are challenges that you foresee yourself facing?
I mean, this is a real estate project. So whatever sector we go after, we've got to look at it and think, well, I've got responsibilities to my shareholders and the owners. I've got responsibilities into the wider community where we've made very public statements about what we're going to do. For us, having a sector which has got growth potential is something to watch, but you've got to go at the right time, otherwise it's not going to deliver the returns that you are seeking. So there's always this tension between the private sector, you've got to make a profit or you're going to die, but also we've also got our social purpose which sits behind the business. For us, it was about talking. I think the problem that we had was when I first aired the fact that we were going to pursue the esports agenda, I briefed it to, we have amazing owners, Delancey, but I briefed it into their boardroom in Mayfair. I was like, that's what we're going to go and do. That was the response. And so we had to take them on a journey, and it's been an interesting journey with them to say, look, just bear with us. It's going to pay out. It's in terms of we're going to be successful. We can offer things that no one else can offer in the capital. This is why it fits across the wider brand narrative. If you think about the cultural aspect that we've got here with Wayne McGregor and his dance studios looking to take dance into a new audience in-game. Just look what's happening within Fortnite. When you look at Matches Fashion and what they're doing about designing and putting it in-game. You've got music studios, some of them design and create music for game. When you started to look at what's around us, you go, we're already in that sector, but not as overt as we'd like. So I think being true to the vision, it takes time. That was one of the challenges, which is like, just hold firm. Everybody wants to let real estate up as quick as they can, maximize the IRR. And that's right. This is a bigger project. We're creating something quite unique and special, which is going to be really strategically important for the capital, but also for the people that live around it as well. And I think for me, it was about making sure you communicate, as Matt said, take people on that journey. You don't want us to go after failure, but if you fail as you go along the way, embrace it, learn from it, and go again, but don't let it knock you back. And if you think it's the absolutely right thing to do, just go after it and keep on going. This is why we're doing it. This is the right thing to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then when everything falls into place, take all the credit. No, I mean...
Well, I feel like that is the perfect place to finish. I do think what a wonderful way to have kicked off the day. Go after it. That's a wonderful message, isn't it? That it's worth the bumps in the road, let's say, and it's something that's very exciting, and we should be throwing ourselves behind, no matter the route. So thank you so much. Of course, you are our founding partners here, East and Staffordshire University London. So thank you, Gavin and Matt.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.